The navigation lights of the UES Defiance cut through the obsidian darkness of deep space like surgical blades. Captain Elena Rodriguez watched the holographic displays with an intensity that made her junior officers instinctively straighten their postures. Her dark eyes reflected the soft blue glow of the bridge's environmental systems, calculating and patient. The ship itself was a marvel of human engineering, a vessel that looked deceptively simple to alien sensors, but housed complexity beyond standard galactic understanding. Its hull was a composite of materials developed through centuries of terrestrial conflict and space exploration, each layer telling a story of human adaptation and survival. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, the ship's primary tactical officer, broke the silence. "Captain, we're picking up anomalous quantum signatures in Sector 7 Gamma." His fingers danced across the holographic interface, pulling up intricate data streams that seemed to breathe and pulse with living information. Elena leaned forward, her combat instincts triggering. "Analysis, Marcus. Something's disrupting the local space-time continuum," he reported. "It's not natural. These energy signatures suggest massive technological intervention." The young officer's voice carried a mix of professional calm and underlying excitement. Humans had learned long ago that the unknown was not something to fear, but to understand. The ship's AI, an advanced neural network nicknamed ARIA, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Algorithm, began processing the data. Her voice was crisp and neutral, yet somehow carried an undertone of anticipation. "Captain Rodriguez, multiple large mass objects are preparing quantum fold transitions. Probability of first contact scenario, 97.3%. Before Elena could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. Massive alien vessels materialized, their hulls adorned with bioluminescent markings that pulsed with technological arrogance. The Concordance fleet had arrived. The lead vessel, a massive crystalline construct that defied traditional spacecraft design, dominated the visual spectrum. Its commander, Krikstal, was a being of pure geometric precision, a crystalline entity that represented the pinnacle of the Zarkon species' technological evolution. Communication channels crackled to life. The translation matrix worked overtime to convert the complex linguistic patterns of the alien communication into something comprehensible. "Unidentified human vessel," the message began, each word dripping with bureaucratic condescension. "You have entered restricted galactic territory. Prepare for immediate interdiction and processing. Your technological capabilities are deemed insufficient for independent navigation." Elena's lips curved into a smile that made her senior crew exchange knowing glances. It was the smile of someone who knew something others did not. A smile that promised complexity beyond simple confrontation. "Era," she said softly. "Begin preliminary threat assessment and tactical modeling." The AI's response was instantaneous. Millions of potential scenarios began to compile, each one a potential pathway to survival and perhaps something more. The alien fleet surrounded the Defiance, their massive forms creating a geometric prison of technological superiority. Sensor beams probed the human vessel, each scan expecting to find nothing more than a primitive collection of outdated systems. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Lieutenant Chen's console suddenly lit up with a series of rapid calculations. "Captain, they're preparing standard Concordance pacification protocols. Typical approach. Overwhelming force, minimal resistance expected." Elena Rodriguez adjusted her command chair, her movements deliberate and calm. "Let them think that," she muttered, just loud enough for her bridge crew to hear. Outside, the alien fleet continued their display of technological might. Inside the Defiance, something far more interesting was brewing. A human response that would challenge everything the Concordance believed about technological superiority. The dance was about to begin. The Concordance sensor arrays hummed with a symphony of advanced technology, their intricate networks weaving through space like a web of infinite complexity. Each beam that swept across the UES Defiance was designed to strip away technological secrets, to lay bare every microscopic detail of the human vessel. In the primary analysis chamber of the Zarkon flagship, holographic displays erupted with data. Senior analyst Voxnar, a multifaceted being composed of interconnected crystalline neural networks, began compiling the initial report. His appendages, part biological, part technological, manipulated streams of information with practiced efficiency. Observe the primitive construction, Voxnar announced to the gathered fleet commanders. Massive holographic projections of the Defiance rotated slowly, each system seemingly dissected and laid bare. Human technology remains trapped in a linear developmental stage. Quantum adaptive systems are rudimentary at best. The assembled alien commanders leaned in, their various physiological forms reflecting a diverse but unified technological superiority. A Kreltheri representative, whose body resembled a mass of fluid metallic tendrils, voiced agreement. Their power distribution networks are archaic, single-point energy conduits. No adaptive routing. No quantum entanglement communication. Crystal, the fleet's primary commander, allowed himself a moment of bureaucratic satisfaction. Decades of galactic records showed humanity as a minor species, technologically infantile, spatially confined, barely worthy of diplomatic acknowledgement. This encounter was nothing more than a routine pacification protocol. Aboard the Defiance, Captain Elena Rodriguez watched the alien scans with calculated patience. Her tactical officer, Marcus Chen, worked furiously, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with intelligent responsiveness. "They're scanning us like we're some museum artifact," Chen muttered, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. The ship's AI, Araya, processed the alien scans in real time. Interesting. Her voice carried a tone that suggested more than mere data processing. They are interpreting our systems through their technological paradigm. They see limitations where we see opportunities. Every system on the Defiance was a carefully crafted illusion. What appeared to be simple energy conduits were actually adaptive networks capable of instantaneous reconfiguration. What seemed like primitive sensor arrays were actually sophisticated information-gathering platforms designed to understand, not just detect. Back on the Zarkon flagship, Voxnar continued his analysis. Weapon systems are particularly disappointing. Kinetic projectile capabilities. Primitive plasma-based energy weapons. No quantum disruptors. No molecular reconfiguration technologies. The alien commanders began discussing potential pacification strategies. Standard protocol dictated a three-phase approach. Communication, demonstration of superiority, and if necessary, controlled neutralization of the human vessel. They had no idea what was coming. Elena Rodriguez turned to her executive officer, Commander David Reyes. "They're going to make a demonstration soon. Something to show their technological superiority." Her fingers traced a complex pattern on her command interface, a gesture that looked casual but was anything but. Araya's voice came through their private communication channel. Probability of aggressive demonstration, 94.7%. Recommended response protocols are currently being optimized. The alien fleet began to reconfigure their formation. Massive vessels shifted with mathematical precision, creating a geometric pattern designed to intimidate and constrain. Their weapon systems charged, not to destroy, but to demonstrate absolute technological dominance. On the Defiance's bridge, a collective sense of anticipation hung in the air. The crew knew something the aliens did not. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been its technology, but its capacity for unexpected adaptation. The technological mockery was about to backfire spectacularly. Captain Elena Rodriguez moved with a deliberate calm that belied the storm of strategic calculations brewing beneath her composed exterior. Her fingers hovered above the tactical interface, each movement a precise mathematical equation waiting to be executed. "Initiate the shuffle," she whispered. The bridge crew knew exactly what those words meant. Years of joint training, countless simulations, and a deep understanding of human adaptability transformed the Defiance into something far more than a mere spacecraft. It became a living, breathing strategic organism. Lieutenant Marcus Chen's fingers flew across his console, triggering a sequence that would redefine space combat. The ship's systems began to do something impossible. They began to exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. Araya, the ship's advanced AI, spoke with a clinical precision that carried an undertone of anticipation. Quantum probabilistic navigation initialized, generating multiple concurrent spatial signatures. To the alien sensors, the impossible began to happen. The Defiance seemed to multiply, not through holographic projection or simple electronic deception, but through a complex manipulation of spatial perception. One moment, the ship appeared to be trailing to the port side of its original position. The next, it would instantaneously register in 3 different locations, each reading completely authentic. On the Zarkon flagship, analyst Voxnar's crystalline form began to fracture with confusion. "Impossible," he muttered, his advanced sensor arrays struggling to comprehend what they were witnessing. The human vessel was breaking fundamental rules of spatial tracking. Crystal leaned forward, his massive crystalline body pulsing with increasing agitation. "Target acquisition protocols," he commanded. But each time the alien fleet's weapons systems attempted to lock onto the Defiance, the target would shimmer and shift. What the aliens didn't understand was the depth of human innovation. The shuffle was not a simple evasion technique. It was a carefully crafted strategy that exploited the fundamental differences between alien and human technological thinking. Commander David Rice leaned close to Elena, speaking in a low voice. "They're running standard targeting algorithms. Each time they adjust, we're 3 steps ahead." His eyes reflected the complex holographic displays, each one a testament to human ingenuity. The alien weapon systems began to malfunction. Precision targeting computers, designed to calculate trajectories across multiple dimensional spaces, suddenly found themselves confronted with a target that defied mathematical certainty. It was as if the Defiance existed in a state of perpetual quantum uncertainty. "Weapon synchronization disrupted," Araya reported. "Alien targeting systems experiencing cascading computational failures." Each movement of the Defiance was a calculated stroke of strategic brilliance. Where alien ships relied on predetermined combat algorithms, the human vessel operated on something far more dynamic: adaptive intelligence combined with creative unpredictability. Lieutenant Chen couldn't help but smile. "They're trying to understand our movement patterns," he said to his nearby colleague. "But we don't have patterns. We have possibilities." The alien fleet's perfect geometric formation began to fracture. Communication channels filled with increasing panic and confusion. The Concordants had never encountered a technological approach that so completely defied their understanding of spatial combat. Crixtel's communication burst forth, a mixture of bureaucratic anger and growing uncertainty. "Implement emergency recalibration protocols. Target the human vessel." But it was too late. The Defiance was no longer just evading. It was teaching the galaxy a lesson about the true nature of technological innovation. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to think beyond established rules, to see possibilities where others saw limitations. The dance of deception was just beginning. The battle transformed into a symphony of destruction orchestrated by human creativity. Commander David Rice watched the tactical displays with a mixture of professional concentration and barely contained excitement. The alien fleet's sophisticated sensor arrays were being systematically dismantled, not through brute force, but through an elegant dance of technological manipulation. "Thermal decoy sequence," Captain Elena Rodriguez called out, her voice calm and precise. "Marcus, initiate adaptive frequency modulation." Lieutenant Marcus Chen's fingers became a blur across the holographic interface. The Defiance began to emit a complex series of thermal and electromagnetic signatures that defied traditional combat logic. Where alien ships relied on complex energy absorption and redirection technologies, the human vessel used something far more fundamental: creative misdirection. Araya, the ship's AI, processed millions of potential scenarios per second. Implementing multi-vector thermal dissipation, she reported, generating asymmetric energy signatures to confuse enemy tracking systems. The alien fleet's weapon arrays began to malfunction in spectacular fashion. Precision targeting systems designed to track energy signatures across multiple dimensional spaces suddenly found themselves chasing ghost signals. The Defiance wasn't just avoiding attacks, it was actively teaching the aliens a lesson in technological flexibility. On the Zarkon flagship, Analyst Voxnar's crystalline form began to vibrate with increasing frustration. "Their energy management is impossible," he muttered, his advanced sensor arrays struggling to make sense of what they were witnessing. The human ship seemed to manipulate fundamental physical properties in ways that defied known scientific understanding. Crixtel's communication burst forth, a mixture of bureaucratic anger and growing desperation. "Recalibrate all tracking systems. Implement emergency targeting protocols." But each attempt to lock onto the Defiance was met with another layer of technological creativity. The ship didn't just move, it transformed. Weapon systems that appeared passive one moment became dynamic offensive capabilities the next. It was as if the entire vessel was a living, breathing strategic entity. Commander Reyes leaned close to Captain Rodriguez. "They're running out of standard response protocols," he observed, a hint of admiration in his voice. Elena's response was a slight smile. "Humans have always been good at breaking rules." The battle became a masterclass in unconventional warfare. Where alien ships maintained rigid combat doctrines, the Defiance operated on something far more dynamic: adaptive intelligence combined with creative unpredictability. Each maneuver was a calculated stroke that challenged everything the Concordance understood about space combat. Lieutenant Chen's console erupted with a complex series of data streams. "Quantum probability calculations are off the charts," he reported. "We're literally rewriting combat mathematics in real time." The ship's systems began to showcase capabilities that seemed to emerge from some impossible realm of technological innovation. Sensor arrays that appeared passive suddenly became active jamming systems. Propulsion systems transformed into potential weapon platforms. Every component of the Defiance was a potential strategic asset. Aboard the alien vessels, communication channels began to fill with confusion and rising panic. The perfect geometric formation of the Concordance fleet started to dissolve. Their technological superiority, something they had taken for granted for centuries, was being systematically dismantled by a single human vessel. Araya's voice cut through the tension. "Adaptive response optimization at 98.7% efficiency," she reported. "Enemy tactical cohesion degrading." The Defiance was no longer just a spacecraft. It had become a living testament to human innovation, a vessel that understood that true technological superiority wasn't about complex systems, but about the ability to think beyond established limitations. The unconventional warfare was just beginning. The Concordance fleet's legendary cohesion began to fracture like brittle crystal under immense pressure. Each alien species within the massive armada discovered their carefully constructed collaborative systems were far more fragile than they had ever imagined. Crixtel's crystalline form started to show microscopic fissures, a physical manifestation of the growing psychological breakdown. Communication channels between the different alien vessels devolved from precise, mathematical exchanges to a chaotic babble of confusion and mounting terror. The Kreltheri communication officer, a being composed of fluid metallic tendrils, struggled to maintain coherent links between fleet sections. "Tracking systems compromised," she reported, her voice quivering with an emotion rarely experienced by her species, genuine uncertainty. Aboard the Defiance, Captain Elena Rodriguez watched the unfolding chaos with calculated precision. "Araya," she called softly. "Analyze the communication breakdown between alien fleet sections." The ship's AI responded immediately, detecting critical failure in interspecies coordination protocols. The human tactical approach is exploiting fundamental communication vulnerabilities in the Concordance fleet structure. Lieutenant Marcus Chen's console erupted with a complex series of data streams. Each alien communication attempt was being systematically intercepted, analyzed, and subtly manipulated. The Defiance wasn't just defending, it was actively destabilizing the entire alien fleet's strategic framework. Commander David Rice leaned closer to Alina. They've never encountered an opponent who understands their systems better than they understand themselves, he observed, a note of professional admiration in his voice. The alien fleet's technological superiority began to crumble under the weight of human creativity. Each sophisticated system designed for absolute control became a potential point of vulnerability. The Defiance moved through their defensive networks like a surgical instrument, precise and devastating. Analyst Voxanar, on the Zarkon flagship, watched in growing horror. The human vessel wasn't just resisting, it was teaching the Concordance a lesson about the true nature of technological innovation. Every predictive model, every strategic projection, collapsed under the weight of human unpredictability. Impossible, Voxanar muttered, his crystalline neural networks struggling to process what was happening. The mathematical certainties that had defined Concordance warfare for millennia were being systematically dismantled. Alina Rodriguez understood something fundamental that the alien fleet had forgotten. Warfare was never about technology. It was about adaptation, creativity, and the ability to see possibilities where others saw only limitations. Araya's voice cut through the tension. Exploiting communication asymmetries, the AI reported. Alien fleet coordination efficiency dropping by 0.3% per tactical cycle. The number seemed small, but its implications were massive. The Krelltheri communication officer's fluid form began to destabilize. Quantum communication networks, once thought to be perfectly secure, started to show unexpected vulnerabilities. The human ship was literally rewriting the mathematics of space combat in real time. Emergency reconfiguration impossible, she reported, her voice a mixture of professional detachment and growing panic. Krixtal's communication burst forth, a desperate attempt to reassert control. Implement maximum defensive protocols. But the command was already too late. The Defiance had moved beyond traditional defensive and offensive categorizations. Each alien vessel discovered that their most sophisticated systems were being turned against them. Weapon tracking became a liability. Communication networks transformed into channels of confusion. The perfect geometric formation of the Concordance fleet began to dissolve like morning mist. Humanity had entered the battle with something far more powerful than advanced technology. They'd brought creativity, adaptability, and an understanding that true innovation comes from breaking established rules. The unbreakable was about to be broken. The battlefield transformed into a canvas of human strategic brilliance. Captain Alina Rodriguez understood a fundamental truth that had eluded the Concordance for millennia. Warfare was as much a psychological contest as a technological one. Tactical deception sequence, she commanded, her voice calm and measured. The Defiance began to implement a strategy that went beyond traditional combat paradigms. Lieutenant Marcus Chen's fingers danced across holographic interfaces, triggering a series of maneuvers designed to do more than just evade or attack. They were meant to completely unsettle the alien fleet's collective psyche. Araya, the ship's AI, processed the strategy with clinical precision. Initiating multi-layered psychological disruption protocol, she reported, targeting communication cohesion and strategic confidence. On the Zarkon flagship, analyst Voxanar watched in growing horror as the human vessel seemed to manipulate the very fabric of tactical engagement. The Defiance appeared to exist in a state of perpetual strategic flux, a living embodiment of unpredictability. Commander David Rice leaned closer to Alina. They're starting to break, he observed. Not just their systems, their belief in their own superiority. The alien fleet's communication channels began to fill with an emotion rarely experienced by the Concordance, doubt. Each carefully constructed defense mechanism became a point of vulnerability. The humans were fighting a war that transcended physical combat, attacking the very foundations of alien strategic thinking. Krixtal's crystalline form began to vibrate with increasing agitation. The geometric perfection of the Concordance fleet started to dissolve, replaced by something far more chaotic and unpredictable. implement emergency coordination protocols, Kriegstall demanded. But each command was met with increasing confusion. The Defiance moved with a fluidity that defied traditional combat understanding. One moment, it appeared vulnerable. The next, it became an instrument of strategic devastation. Each maneuver was a carefully crafted psychological weapon designed to dismantle the alien's sense of technological superiority. Lieutenant Chen's console erupted with a complex series of data streams. "They're losing cohesion," he reported, "not just in their tactical systems, but in their collective strategic thinking." Araya's voice cut through the tension. "Psychological disruption efficiency at 87.4%, she reported. Alien fleet decision-making capabilities degrading exponentially. The human vessel was revealing a fundamental truth about technological superiority. It wasn't about the most advanced systems, but about the ability to think beyond established limitations. The Concordants had spent millennia perfecting their technological approach, only to discover that true innovation came from something far more fundamental: human creativity. Aboard the alien vessels, communication channels began to fracture. The perfect mathematical precision that had defined Concordance warfare for generations began to crumble under the weight of human unpredictability. The Kreltheri communication officer's fluid form began to destabilize. "Coordination impossible," she reported, her voice a mixture of professional detachment and growing panic. Elena Rodriguez understood something the aliens had forgotten. Warfare was never about technology. It was about the ability to adapt, to see possibilities where others saw only limitations. Each alien vessel discovered that their most sophisticated systems were being turned against them. Weapon tracking became a liability. Communication networks transformed into channels of confusion. The perfect geometric formation of the Concordance fleet continued to dissolve. "They're learning the most important lesson," Elena muttered to herself. Humanity's greatest weapon has always been its capacity for unexpected adaptation. The psychological warfare had only just begun. The battlefield transformed into a crucible of technological revelation. What had begun as a simple confrontation had become something far more profound, a moment that would redefine the Concordance's understanding of technological innovation. Captain Elena Rodriguez watched the unfolding chaos with a calm that belied the magnitude of the moment. The Defiance was no longer just a spacecraft. It had become a living testament to human potential, a beacon of innovation that challenged every fundamental assumption of galactic warfare. "Full-spectrum tactical analysis," she commanded, her voice cutting through the tension on the bridge. Lieutenant Marcus Chen's console erupted with a symphony of data streams. Each input was a piece of a complex puzzle that the aliens were only beginning to comprehend. The Defiance wasn't just fighting. It was teaching a lesson about the true nature of technological adaptation. Araya, the ship's AI, began to compile a comprehensive breakdown of the encounter. "Analyzing Concordance fleet vulnerabilities," she reported. "Tactical inefficiencies exponentially increasing with each strategic cycle." On the Zarkon flagship, analyst Voxnar watched in growing horror. The human vessel seemed to exist in a state of perpetual strategic mutation. Every time the alien fleet believed they had identified a pattern, the Defiance would shift, revealing capabilities that defied logical comprehension. Commander David Rice leaned closer to Elena. "They're completely unprepared for this level of adaptive thinking," he observed, a mixture of professional admiration and strategic excitement in his voice. The alien fleet's communication channels began to fracture completely. What had once been a perfectly coordinated military machine now resembled a collection of confused and terrified individual vessels. The Concordance's legendary technological superiority was crumbling like ancient architecture exposed to a sudden, violent storm. Kriegstall's crystalline form began to show visible fractures, both literal and metaphorical. The mathematical models, the centuries of strategic planning, the absolute certainty of galactic superiority, all of it was dissolving in the face of human creativity. "Impossible," the alien commander muttered, his communication becoming increasingly fragmented. "No technological system can adapt this quickly." But the Defiance was proving otherwise. Lieutenant Chen's fingers flew across the holographic interface. "We're generating tactical scenarios faster than their computational systems can process," he reported. "They're literally being outsmarted by our ability to think beyond their established algorithms." Araya's voice cut through the tension. "Generating unprecedented tactical permutations," she reported. "Computational complexity exceeding Concordance predictive capabilities by 273%. The human vessel began to showcase capabilities that seemed to emerge from some impossible realm of strategic thinking. Sensor systems that appeared passive suddenly became active jamming platforms. Propulsion systems transformed into potential weapon configurations. Every component of the Defiance was a potential strategic asset. Elena Rodriguez understood something fundamental that the alien fleet had forgotten. True innovation wasn't about the most advanced technology. It was about the ability to see possibilities where others saw only limitations. The Krell communication officer's fluid form began to completely destabilize. "Coordination impossible," she reported, her voice a mixture of professional detachment and growing existential terror. Each alien vessel discovered that their most sophisticated systems were being systematically dismantled. Weapon tracking became a liability. Communication networks transformed into channels of pure confusion. The perfect geometric formation of the Concordance fleet continued to dissolve into chaos. "They're learning," Elena muttered to herself, "that humanity's greatest weapon has always been its capacity for unexpected adaptation." The moment of revelation had arrived. The galaxy was about to understand that technological superiority was never about complexity. It was about creativity. The final moments of the battle arrived with a silence more profound than any weapon's discharge. As the remaining Concordance vessels began their retreat, a new chapter in galactic history was being written in real time. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood perfectly still on the bridge of the UES Defiance, her eyes reflecting the vast emptiness of space, now punctuated by the fleeing alien fleet. Commander David Rice approached her, a quiet smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "They won't forget this," he said softly. Araya, the ship's AI, began compiling the comprehensive battle analysis. "Tactical engagement complete," she reported. "Concordance fleet strategic cohesion permanently compromised. Psychological impact maximum efficiency." Lieutenant Marcus Chen's console continued to pulse with streams of data, a testament to the complexity of the engagement they had just survived. Each data point was a story, each algorithm a chapter in humanity's emerging galactic narrative. On the Zarkon flagship, analyst Voxnar struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what had just occurred. The crystalline being's neural networks worked overtime, attempting to process a confrontation that defied every established understanding of technological warfare. Crixtal's communication burst forth, a mixture of bureaucratic anger and fundamental uncertainty. "Initiate full strategic review," he commanded, his voice betraying a newfound sense of vulnerability that was entirely foreign to the Concordance. The Defiance had done more than win a battle. It had shattered a fundamental belief system that had governed galactic interactions for millennia. The idea of technological superiority had been completely dismantled, replaced by something far more dynamic and unpredictable. "Prepare full mission report," Elena commanded, her voice calm and measured. "The galaxy is going to want to understand exactly what happened here." Araya began to compile the report, each line a carefully crafted testament to human innovation. The AI understood that this was more than a military engagement. It was a moment of cultural revelation. The Krell communication officer, her fluid metallic form still trembling from the encounter, began sending preliminary reports back to their home systems. Words like unprecedented and incomprehensible filled the communication streams. Aboard the Defiance, the crew moved with a quiet sense of professional pride. They weren't celebrating a victory. They were documenting a fundamental shift in galactic understanding. Communication intercepts suggest complete strategic recalibration across Concordance diplomatic channels, Araya reported. Humanity's technological approach is now a primary point of study. Commander Reyes leaned closer to Alina. "We've just changed everything," he observed. The battle had revealed something profound about human potential. It wasn't about having the most advanced technology. It was about the capacity to think beyond established limitations, to see possibilities where others saw only constraints. Diplomatic channels across the galaxy began to light up. The encounter between the UES Defiance and the Concordance fleet would become required study in military academies, a case study of innovation and adaptive thinking. Alina Rodriguez understood the true significance of the moment. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a declaration, a statement that humanity would not be defined by technological limitations, but by its capacity for unexpected adaptation. As the Defiance prepared to return home, the vast emptiness of space seemed to vibrate with a new understanding. The galaxy had just learned a fundamental lesson about human potential. The legend of the Defiance was just beginning.